everybody. This is Ivy Michelle for Founder AI, Behind the AI. Today we have Jana and Marty. Very nice to have you guys. It's a raining, blah Monday on the East Coast. I hope that weather is a little better for you guys where you are. Kick it off for us and give a quick intro for our audience.
My name is Jana Giovelli. I'm the founder of Noonean, and we do more human language systems, search, and knowledge management. We also focus on conversational AI and other tools. And I've got 30 years in the industry. I've worked at most of the big companies. I was in Silicon Valley for 15, 20 years, and I've worked all over the world doing technology.
Amazing. From tech founder to tech founder, I think that background is completely just impressive. So you must have done this way too many times, but we all have sort of like our favorite version of a pitch. Do you have a favorite version? And given that it's, it's kind of deep science and deep tech, there's a lot of NLPs. Is there one that, connects very quickly with an audience, even if the audience is like an 8-year-old?
That's a good question. I think a lot of the technology sounds complicated, so I wanted to illustrate a difference. First of all, you go back to 1995 and you had Google, right? And so you type in a question and it would show you document links, maybe little summaries. So now today, every company has a Google of information that they have to manage. And they have, search has progressed. So we've gone from typing in keywords to finding documents and then typing in real language, English, and finding paragraphs. What Noonean does is it takes it even further, and you type in natural language and it takes you directly to the sentence. So we say it takes you directly to the answer. So that's like the next level of improvement. Now, explaining how we do that, it's a little tricky, but let me give you an example. So computers often solve problems not the way that humans do it. So if you know the chess champion of the world is Magnus Carlsen, he had his championship match against Anand. And Anand studied chess with computers, so he just worked and worked and worked with the computers constantly to improve his game. Magnus did it all using his brain and intuition. So when they met, when Magnus would do moves that the computers didn't know about, Anand also didn't know about them, and so Magnus won and did better. So we're similar to that. Today on the market, there are products like GPT-3, which is a huge product that just got licensed via Microsoft. And it has 175 billion parameters, and it uses advanced hidden Markov transformers and things like that. It doesn't solve it the way humans do it. So as soon as you take it out of its sort of happy range, it falls apart. So one of the things that we do is we work on understanding how our brains process language and grammar. And then what we do is we actually reduce all of the sentences to like their fundamental structures. And then we compare those. So we're solving the problem like a human would, really thinking about the sentences and the language. And so that's really our advantage and that gives us the additional precision and the ability to not need training, because these other systems you train, and then you don't have them trained on the actual language of your business. So if you take it into pharmaceuticals, it doesn't know anything and it doesn't work very well. So that's fundamentally the difference, is we're trying to do it more like how humans do it, and it gives us much greater precision and also performance because we're able to do it faster.
Right. A ton of advancement, and obviously the newer is the new term usually gets everybody's ears just prick up is like general artificial intelligence, right? And it's really hard to get there without, as you were saying, sort of like the larger context in which words are used in a sentence, and those sentences composed of a paragraph. But as you kind of go all the way up, what is sort of like the intention behind, let's say, the question or the request? Fascinating stuff. And you gave us a little bit about your, again, a lineage of tech experience that comprises your background. But what made you decide to start Noonean?
Well, like everything, you usually start a problem out of frustration. So I started, some of the phone assistants had come out, like Alexa, Siri, and I tried using them and they were so bad this was a couple years ago, so it's even worse than they are now. And they couldn't follow my language. Like, they weren't really talking to me. They were just taking a question and giving an answer. And so I thought that was very poor. And it was obvious if you look at how all of these question answer systems work, they don't do it at all how we do it. They're doing it again, trying to do some correlative stuff, and they don't really understand what you're talking about. So for example, if you take a taxi, if you use the system, you take a taxi to a restaurant, and then you say again, hey, I want to go from here to there, it doesn't know where you are. It doesn't know anything. It doesn't know anything about the world. So everything we do with language and trying to connect it, that we did with search, also applies to conversational stuff. It's a bit different. So one of the advantages that we have is whether it's doing a channel that is questions or conversation or large scale search, we use the exact same engine, the exact same grammar, the exact same patented technique. And that way we can do this kind of multi-channel information stuff. And then one of the ideas to get to eventually is what I call an intelligent information portal, which we humans don't know what that is really yet, but it's coming and it's going to be there everywhere. So having real conversations with large scale information systems is kind of where we're headed. Now, a lot of what's happening in the smaller steps to that are things that people call like just knowledge management, or they're trying just to get the basics working right now. And so our evolution was really out of frustration with language. And then actually we had a few clients that were really frustrated with their search. They had the latest tech, they bought every AI system. The problem was the AI couldn't activate because the results never got into the search. So if you couldn't get to first base, you couldn't turn on all the other fancy stuff.
Right.
So one of the things that we did for them was actually to improve search, understand the language that they were using. And then from all of that, we were able to actually pull it together. And then some of the other tooling that they had was able to enable. So if you can't get to the first level of search on these huge, massive documents, collections, then a lot of times the AI and the other systems you bought didn't work. So people don't expect that a lot of the research companies, the Fortune 100s, they have so much information, but it's completely opaque to them. Mm-hmm. And if you use a neural network to solve it, you're still opaque. This approach tends to lose precision the more documents you add to it. So it'll look really good against a small subset of Wikipedia, but then you try to run it against this massive collection and it just falls apart. Right. So precision is very important, and it's very hard to do today. And that's one of the reasons why we work very hard on making our stuff specifically for enterprise NLP, enterprise scale, enterprise precision. And that's different because we don't have general information, general AI yet. It really works across everything automatically. We sort of, you take a domain and you get better for that domain. And we're like that as well. But the difference is that we can actually bring up the precision. We can actually get things working much better than these opaque systems. And then also, if something's going wrong, we can figure out why. Right. Like the other approaches are completely black and you can't see inside them to know why it did something. So that's another advantage we have.
Exactly. So based on sort of like the two things that are super key in your particular execution and solution that you bring to the market, accuracy and transparency, right? What would you say is sort of the ultimate big vision for Noonean?
Well, we are hoping to, if you really go forward, I think the systems that we're building today and the foundational work is, I mentioned intelligent information portals, but really you can even extend that to intelligent autonomous systems like robotics and language for that as well. So obviously that's 20 years out, but at some point someone has to start building a basis for it. And it's not going to be with these massive, 175 billion parameter neural networks. First of all, they generate too much heat. You can never get there. I think there's an intermediate step though, and I think it's more coming the next 5 years, where we will have much more of a unified knowledge system with an AI in between your question, right? So right now you type a question, it goes directly in, but there'll be an intelligence working with you to help you find information. And I think that's sort of the near future.
And it's not that much into the future, like you were saying, in the next 5.
Right.
Amazing. Ooh, so this kind of comes into the human side of the things. I know sometimes when working in tech, we're kind of habituated to this and this all the time, especially in the days of COVID. Who's your founder hotline? Who do you go to when you kind of need a little bit of like humanized factors just to get away from the machine learning stuff? Would it be Marty? Marty who's sitting in the dark?
I'll answer first, and then maybe I'll turn it over to Marty to talk a little bit. But I think, behind all of these big name projects, there's usually one guy. There's usually one gal. There's one person who's very sharp, who's basically been leading it. So I have a network of all of those people at all the companies, and we all talk. And sometimes even when we go to different conferences, we'll all meet up and discuss the latest technology. So that gives us some more global sense of how the whole community is working and the challenges that we all face, and we all solve them in different ways. And then on the actual business side, we work with people like, we have very smart people like Tony Rem, who's a pioneer in knowledge management and sees the future of AI with knowledge management. So we have people like that we talk to as well, to sort of get a more like bigger picture of what's the pain points, what are companies struggling with. And one of the interesting things was like, well, we're going to do all these other things in knowledge management. And Tony was like, no, just your search. Your search is already such a big step forward for knowledge management that's a great, centerpiece. I didn't think that. I thought, oh, we have to build all these other pieces, and then maybe that'll help for knowledge management. But he really seems to think that we have a good positioning for the future, and we're going to keep building on it. So.
Yeah,
Let me introduce this over to Marty, who does a lot of our engineering on the conversational side.
So I joined Noonean back in March, so that's about 7-8 months ago. My background is mostly large companies, so I worked for eBay, I worked for Visa for a long time. So I'm new to all this artificial intelligence stuff. I bring a lot of like engineering background, just software engineering and people management, things like that. So the main thing I've been focused on is eConcierge. This is it's like a travel assistant AI. It's like a chatbot basically. So we're using the Noonean language technology to build a new chatbot platform. This is kind of like a step to the side from the search stuff. It kind of works the same under the covers, but it adds more of that person. Instead of just type in a query and get a bunch of search results, it's more of that personality that G was mentioning.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So while I'm talking to two co-founders here, what do you guys like mostly about doing what you're doing and building Noonean?
I was going to say it's not having a boss, but unfortunately that only lasts so long in a startup. I think really the best thing about it is a lot of times you get pulled into projects and you're doing something for a business and it's not anything you're excited about. And with Noonean, we're doing stuff that I think is going to change the world, and it's exciting. And it's also, when we have breakthroughs and we see the intelligence go up and we see things get smarter, then we also get very excited. So it's a great project for us. It keeps us motivated.
How about you, Marty?
Yeah, more of the same. It's really nice to be able to solve unique problems, and just instead of just having a specification put in front of you and writing the code, you can actually get in there and use your brain and solve problems.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys are surrounded by a very sage group of advisors and founders themselves of incredible technology. So having those people in your corner, I think day in and day out is what really makes a difference too, at least for myself. It's one thing to hear a lot of no's, but those are intelligent no's that every no guides you towards a more righter direction, right?
We believe in being agile. And for example, most companies start with a business and a vertical and they don't bring any technology to it. We kind of feel the opposite. We have strong technology and we're testing our markets, we're testing our verticals, and we're confident that we have great solutions that are going to apply in many different markets. So we have a strong foundation, and then that helps us keep building and building. So as a company, I think we have some good strategy. The no's from the that we get don't bother us as much as you might think. We actually, having someone give us any feedback is always welcome, because one of the things you have to remember though is everyone says it's impossible. That's the key difference between a startup and a company. Everyone at the company level says this is impossible. They don't try to do it. It's kind of like Wozniak trying to build a computer for $400, and the big companies, he went to 5 companies and they all said it was impossible. And so he did it himself. And it's kind of the same, that's the real startup spirit, is you look at hugely challenging problems that everyone else thinks is too complicated. And I think we already have the most precise and fastest search engine on the planet today. And if you could say, well, that can't be done by just 2 or 3 people, that's impossible. Well, no, we did it. It's live on our site. We proved we did it. So that kind of builds our energy. And what you find again is at all the big companies, they rely on just their 1 or 2 very sharp people that actually are pushing them forward as well. The difference is we don't have the management team telling us that we can't do it, and we're too stupid to know we can't do it. We just do it.
Yeah. Well, that's the perfect storm for quicker, better, more intelligent inventions. You guys already got started. Sounds like amazing momentum. So everybody, listen up. Make sure that you got Noonean on your radar. Come check us out. Invest in us. Great founders building amazing, amazing things. Again, this is Ivy Michelle for Behind the AI. Thank you for watching.